The galaxy had already decided that humanity was weak. Every major alien empire agreed on one thing: humans were small, fragile, slow to evolve, and easy to crush. For hundreds of years, humanity had lived under silent judgment. Whenever alien diplomats met at their grand councils, they joked about Earth. They laughed about how humans tried to build ships with limited technology. They called humanity the harmless species. It was a small voice in a large and dangerous universe, but everything changed on one dark cycle near the edge of the Orion Line. Commander Relar of the Velari Alliance stood inside the observation dome of the council station. He was tall, silver-skinned, with eyes that could see light the way humans see emotion, and on that day he saw something that should never exist. A bright tear, thin as a blade but long as a starship, ripped open in the middle of space. Relar froze. People had studied wormholes, warp tunnels, and even unstable cosmic tunnels, but this was not any known phenomenon. This was a crack, a break, a wound in reality itself. "Counselors," Relar called, his voice trembling, "you must come at once." Within minutes, the chamber filled with leaders from 6 different empires. They stood together, yet none felt safe. The crack in space grew wider, glowing with a cold blue light. Sparks of energy drifted out like dying stars. "What is that?" asked Lord Draxon of the Core Dominion, his dark armor reflecting the light. "It is a dimensional rupture," Relar whispered, "but it should be impossible." The council chamber fell silent. Even the air felt heavy. Every being in the room sensed that something powerful was coming. Then something moved inside the crack, a shadow, a shape, a structure. At first it looked like a long cylinder, smooth, metallic, rotating slowly. But as more of it emerged, the truth became clear. It was not a natural object. It was a ship, a warship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its colossal body stretched across kilometers. Metallic plates overlapped like armor scales. Blue energy pulsed from its massive front core, casting ghostly light across the stars. A cold shiver passed through every observer. "This is not one of our designs," whispered Kava of the Shura Collective. Her kind did not fear war, but this sight made her step back. Another counselor checked his scanner. His face turned pale, if such a thing was possible for his species. "No database match, no known signatures, no known alloys. It's nothing we have ever detected." No one breathed. As the ship fully emerged, the crack behind it closed silently, as if the universe swallowed its own secret. And now the warship stood alone in open space, massive and silent, facing the council station like a watchful titan. "Scan it," Relar ordered. The scanners activated, but then lights flashed red, something unheard of. "Impossible," said the technician. "Its energy levels surpass our measurement range. We can't even read the power core. The ship isn't just strong, it's beyond our technology by thousands of years." Something inside the ship shifted. Blue lines of light raced across its surface. The armor plates adjusted, forming complex shapes and patterns as if the vessel was alive. "Prepare defensive positions," Lord Draxon barked. "It may be hostile," but before any fleet could be mobilized, the ship sent out a message. A single voice: "Human, attention Council Station, we are the Terran Vanguard." The chamber fell dead silent. Relar looked around, stunned. Did it say Terran as in human? Another voice entered the channel. It was deeper, older, confident. "We advise all ships to maintain distance. We will not repeat this warning." The counselors stared at each other. Humanity was not supposed to be this advanced. The last report said humans had only begun adapting faster than light drives. They had small fleets, weak ships, and limited shields. So how did they suddenly possess a warship powerful enough to distort reality? Draxon hissed, "This is impossible. Humans cannot build this." But Relar wasn't so sure. Deep inside, he felt something was wrong, terribly wrong. Light years away, Earth watched the events unfold with equal shock. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood inside the Terran Observation Center, her hands trembling as she watched the same footage streamed from a secret surveillance link. Humans had prepared for this moment, yet still, the sight of their own warship returning from another dimension made her heart pound. The Terran Vanguard, the ship built from humanity's greatest gamble. For centuries, humanity had feared the alien empires. Fear turned into preparation. Preparation turned into desperation. Everyone knew the galaxy would attack Earth one day. Humanity had always been the inferior species, the easy target. But Earth refused to die quietly. Everything changed after the Omega signal was detected 200 years earlier, a faint message from deep space warning of an incoming purge. Aliens feared humanity's potential. They planned to wipe humans out before they evolved further. Earth did not have the power to fight the galaxy head-on, so they tried something no one had ever attempted. The dimensional drive, a dangerous experiment, a mad idea, a doorway to another universe. Only the bravest volunteered for the mission, the future Terran Vanguard fleet. They would disappear into a brutal dimension, one filled with monsters, storms, and impossible physics. Their mission: evolve, adapt, grow stronger. Humanity will survive by leaving this universe, the old leaders once declared. And we will return only when we are strong enough to stand against all threats. And now the prophecy had come true. The Vanguard had returned. Commander Ren Hale, captain of the Terran Vanguard, stood at the center of the warship. His uniform was black with glowing silver lines, and his eyes carried the sharp, cold look of someone who had seen countless battles. "Report," he said calmly. "Dimensional re-entry complete," replied his first officer, Lyra Hale, his sister. "All systems stable. The Council station is scanning us. Their energy readings are primitive." Ren gave a humorless smile, as expected. "Should we announce our full identity?" Lyra asked. "Not yet. They are not ready." Ren turned to the viewing panel. It showed the Council station, a massive hub of alien politics and power, but compared to the Terran Vanguard it looked small, fragile. "They once mocked humanity," Ren muttered. "Let them see what we have become." Back at the Council station, chaos erupted. "Prepare a diplomatic team," Kava shouted. "We need to talk before this becomes a war." "No," Draxon slammed his fist on the table. "We should show strength. Humans do not command threats in our territory." "You fool," Relar snapped. "If that ship wanted to destroy us, it would have done so already. We must understand what they want." Before they could argue more, the warship's voice returned. "Council station, we detected your incoming fleet. Stand down. We will not engage unless provoked." The Council looked at their screens. Their defensive ships were already mobilizing, hundreds of vessels moving toward the Vanguard. But something horrifying happened. Without firing a shot, the Terran Vanguard emitted a pulse, soft, silent blue. Every alien ship froze, powerless, engines dead, weapons offline. Like toys with their batteries removed, the Council chamber filled with gasps. "What did they do?" asked Kava. "A gravity lock frequency," Relar whispered in fear. "A technology far beyond anything we know. They disabled an entire fleet in 1 second. For the first time in centuries, the Council felt fear, not of each other, but of the one species they underestimated, humans. Ren Hale watched the frozen fleet on his screens. They mobilized quickly. Lyra observed, faster than expected. "They reacted out of fear," Ren replied, "but now they understand they cannot challenge us." Lyra hesitated. "Do you think they understand why we returned?" Ren's eyes hardened. "Oh, they will. The real message hasn't been delivered yet." Back on the Council station, alarms flashed, panic spread, every leader searched for a solution, but none existed. Relar swallowed, feeling the weight of doom. "It seems humanity has come back," he whispered, "not as victims, but as conquerors." "No," said a trembling voice behind him. Everyone turned. It was Elder Theron of the Lyrian Order, the oldest being in the Council. His species lived for thousands of years. His voice was weak, old, but filled with knowledge. "They have not returned to conquer," Theron said. "They have returned because we forced them to." "What do you mean?" Relar asked. Theron closed his eyes. "Because 200 years ago we made a terrible mistake." Everyone stared at him, confused and afraid. "What mistake?" Draxon demanded. Theron opened his ancient eyes. "We planned to destroy Earth." Silence, a long, cold silence, and for the first time in many ages even the Council felt shame. Far away aboard the Terran Vanguard, Ren Hale received the final signal he had been waiting for. A small encoded message from Earth Command. It contained only 5 words. "Deliver the warning, no mercy." Ren nodded slowly. "Prepare the broadcast," he ordered. Lyra pressed a glowing panel. The warship's massive front core glowed with blinding light. And then Ren Hale spoke, his voice echoing across every ship, every station, every empire in the region. "This is Captain Ren Hale of the Terran Vanguard. 2 centuries ago you planned to erase humanity. Today we return with our answer." His voice was calm, controlled, yet full of deadly promise. "Stand by for further instructions." The message ended, but the fear had only begun. Silence spread through the galaxy like a cold wave. Every major empire, every military command center, every listening post had received the same message from the Terran Vanguard. A human voice, strong, calm, and fearless, echoing across hundreds of star systems. Most beings did not understand what they were hearing. A few understood too well, and none were prepared for what came next. Commander Relar stood frozen in the Council station. His fingers trembled as he replayed the broadcast again and again. The message seemed simple, but the meaning behind it was sharp as a blade. "Deliver the warning, no mercy." Who gave them such authority? Why did humans sound like rulers, not victims? His assistant, a young Velari technician, whispered, "Sir, what should we do now?" Relar had commanded fleets, stopped pirate armies, even negotiated with aggressive empires. But nothing in his long life had prepared him for this moment. "We wait," he said softly, "because whatever comes next, they decide it." Meanwhile, the Terran Vanguard moved slowly, almost peacefully. Its surface glowed with faint blue veins of energy. No weapons were activated, no cannons pointed toward the Council station, yet every alien watching felt the exact same thing. This ship could end us all. Inside the Vanguard's command bridge, everything felt calm. Human officers walked around with confidence. Their uniforms glowed silver and black. Their eyes held the look of warriors who had seen things far worse than alien technology. Captain Ren Hale stood at the viewing window. His expression remained unreadable. "Status?" he asked. "The alien fleets remain disabled," Lyra Hale replied. "Gravity lock is stable. They cannot move." Ren nodded. "Good. They are afraid. Lyra added carefully, they should be. Ren answered without hesitation. Fear is the first step toward understanding. Another officer approached. Sir, long-range sensors detect multiple transmissions across the galaxy. The entire region is in alert status. Ren allowed himself a small breath. Good, let them talk, let them panic. He looked again at the massive council station. They need to understand what humans have become. Inside the council chamber, panic had turned into shouting. This is an act of war, Draxon roared, slamming his fist. We must defend ourselves. With what army? Kava snapped back. Did you not see they disabled 500 ships in 1 second? Our weapons are useless, Rilar interrupted. That ship uses technology older than war, older than our science, older than our understanding. Draxon stepped forward furious. Are you suggesting we kneel before humans? I am suggesting. Rilar said slowly that we stop pretending we are safe. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Enough, everyone turned. It was Elder Terran again, the ancient being whose species counted time in thousands of years. His slow steps made no sound as he walked toward the center. You all talk about fear, Terran said, but you forget the most important truth. He raised a trembling hand toward the hologram of the Terran Vanguard. They are not here to invade us, not yet. The room fell silent. What do you mean? Kava asked quietly. Theron's ancient eyes watered as he spoke. I knew of the plan 2 centuries ago. I was a young advisor back then. Many feared humans. Some wanted to guide them. Some wanted to help them grow. But others, he lowered his head. Others wanted to destroy them before they became powerful. Rilar felt a deep pain in his chest. So the rumors were true, yes. Theron whispered, the great empires believed humanity would grow too fast, too brave, too unpredictable, and they feared that one day humans would rise and challenge their rule. Draxon looked disgusted. So what? Humans were weak. They should have accepted their place. Theron stared at him with disappointment. And now, look at what their place has become. They all turned toward the hologram again. There stood the Terran Vanguard. Calm and still, yet holding more power than everything the Council had ever built. Rilar whispered, we created our own nightmare. Back inside the Vanguard, the atmosphere shifted when a soft alarm sounded short, rhythmic, not dangerous. Captain, an officer reported, we are receiving a direct communication request from the Council. Ren raised an eyebrow. Already, Lyra smirked. Fear speeds up diplomacy. Ren gave a small nod. Open a secure channel. Let us hear what they want. A shimmering holographic image appeared on the bridge. It showed 12 council representatives looking tense and shaken. Elder Theron was the first to speak. Human Commander, we greet you. The galaxy greets you. Ren remained still. Greeting acknowledged. Rilar leaned forward slightly, trying to maintain dignity. We wish to open peaceful dialogue. Ren's eyes turned colder. You plan to erase Earth. Rilar froze. How did you know? Ren raised one hand. We knew centuries ago the Vanguard fleet was built because of your decision. The dimensional drive was created because of your fear. The counselors looked at each other in disbelief. You ran from us, Draxon scoffed. Instead of facing your fate, Ren turned his head slowly, his voice deeper and icy. No, we did not run. He stepped closer to the camera. We left so that we could return stronger. Every counselor felt their blood freeze. The transmission ended. The council chamber was silent again. No one dared to speak. Even Draxon had lost his voice. Finally, Kava whispered, if that is what they built in another dimension, then what did they fight there? No one answered because no one wanted to imagine it. The Terran Vanguard began to move slightly, slowly, almost like it was breathing. Rilar immediately shouted, defensive grid active, prepare the station, Commander. A technician interrupted, voice breaking. Their gravity field, it is affecting space around us. What do you mean? The technician swallowed. They are bending the local starfield so they can reshape gravity with almost no effort. Rilar stared at him. We are insects to them, he murmured. On the Vanguard bridge, the mood changed again, something heavy, something ancient. Dimensional energy rising, an officer reported, power levels climbing. Ren didn't flinch. Prepare the core for message amplification. Lyra frowned. Are you sure we should do this now? Ren touched a panel, activating an enormous internal hologram. It displayed the entire galaxy and the position of every major empire. They need to understand, Ren said slowly, before the real threat arrives. The real threat, Lyra repeated. You mean, yes. Ren looked at her, his eyes shadowed by painful memories. The creatures we fought on the other side of the dimensional rift have followed our trail. They will come, and if the galaxy remains divided, everything will die. Lyra felt her breath stop. So our mission isn't just vengeance. Ren shook his head. Our mission is survival for all of us. Back at the council station, Rilar suddenly received another alert. Commander, a technician cried, a new signal from the Terran ship. It's not in any known language. Rilar rushed to the console. The signal was chaotic, like screams layered with static. Frequencies so low they shook the bones, so high they burned the ears. What is this? Rilar whispered. Theron answered, voice trembling. This is not a message for us. Rilar stared at him. Then who is it for? Theron looked at the hologram of the Terran Vanguard, for whatever followed them from the other side. The room turned cold, very cold, inside the Terran Vanguard. Ren Hale stood before the central command crystal, a swirling sphere of blue light. "Prepare global broadcast," he commanded. "The galaxy must hear the truth." Officers moved quickly, lights dimmed, energy pulsed, the ship hummed like a living beast. Lyra stepped beside him. "What will you tell them?" Ren's voice was low. "The truth." He raised his hand. "Activate." Across hundreds of star systems, across every empire, across every world, the stars flickered. Screens across the galaxy lit up. A single human face appeared. Ren Hale, calm, fearless, unshaken. "This is Captain Ren Hale of the Terran Vanguard." Millions watched, billions froze. "We return not only because of your attempt to destroy us, but because something far worse is coming." Whispers echoed through every command center. "In the dimension where our people lived," Ren continued, "we fought shadows that eat suns, beasts that break planets, creatures that track power across universes." He leaned closer. "And they have sensed you." Every alien soul felt panic crawl into their bones. "You mocked us, you feared us, but now you will need us." Ren's voice turned cold as ice. "Because the monsters that hunted us are now hunting you." The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in absolute terror. The galaxy had barely recovered from Captain Ren Hale's broadcast when something impossible happened. The stars began to dim. Not everywhere, but in one specific region of space, the Rim of Silence, a place feared by every species, a place where no ships returned, a place even scientists refused to study. At first, the dimming looked like a sensor glitch. Then it became darker, spread wider, until a whole section of space seemed to lose its light. Inside the council station, alarms screamed. "Commander Rilar," a technician cried. "Sector 19B is losing star visibility." Rilar rushed to the central console. "Is it a blackout?" "No, sir," the technician whispered. "The stars are still there, but something is covering them." A chill ran through Rilar's spine. Something was covering the stars, something large enough to block systems of suns. Back aboard the Terran Vanguard, the bridge lights flickered with warning signals. Officers moved quickly, but their faces were calm. They had seen this before. Lyra Hale checked the long-range sensors, eyes narrowing. "They found us," she said quietly. Ren Hale did not look surprised. "How soon until they reach this side of the galaxy?" "Minutes," Lyra replied. "Less if they travel using dimensional distortion." Another officer spoke. "Sir, should we activate the planetary shield projection to protect the council station?" "Not yet," Ren said. "Let them see what is coming. They need to understand the scale of the threat." Lyra turned to him. "Brother, if the council panics, they might fire on us." Ren's voice stayed calm. "They already know they cannot win." At that exact moment, panic consumed the council chamber. "What is that darkness?" Kava shouted. "It's not a shadow," Rilar answered, staring at the live feed with horror. "It's movement." "Movement of what?" Draxon demanded. The station sensors zoomed in automatically. At first, nothing made sense. Strange shapes drifted inside the dark region. Some looked like floating claws. Others looked like tendrils made of night. Some curled and twisted like living smoke. Then suddenly a pair of enormous eyes opened inside the void, eyes the size of moons. The chamber fell silent. No one breathed. Kava's voice broke. "That thing is alive." "No," Theron whispered, his ancient voice trembling. "It is not one thing, it is many." More eyes opened across the darkness, hundreds, thousands, each one glowing with a sick, hungry light. Rilar stepped back. "What are they?" Theron closed his eyes. "The real reason humanity fled." The Terran Vanguard received a direct transmission from Sector 19B. It was a distress signal from a small alien science vessel. The audio was scrambled, broken, but the screams were clear. "They are inside the hull. Take US out of here." The stars are gone, then static, then silence." Lyra swallowed hard. "Another ship lost." Ren stood straight, his voice steady. "Prepare dimensional surge cannons and activate the astral shields." The bridge lights turned deep blue, energy filled the floors, humming like a giant heartbeat. A junior officer looked terrified. "Sir, will this be enough?" Ren put a hand on the officer's shoulder, a rare show of human warmth. "It must." Back at the council station, chaos grew. "We must escape," one counselor cried. "Evacuate the station," another shouted. "No," Rilar yelled, taking control. "If we scatter, those things will hunt us one by one." "They will hunt us anyway," Draxon screamed. "We are helpless." Theron raised his voice. "The only ones who have faced these creatures and survived are humans." Those words struck the room like lightning. Everyone turned toward the hologram of the Terran Vanguard. Rilar finally understood the bitter truth. Humans did not return for revenge. They returned because the galaxy was about to face a nightmare older than civilization. The darkness expanded. Then one of the creatures fully emerged from the void. It was enormous, larger than planets. Its body looked like living darkness twisted with bone, shadow, and metal. Glowing cracks ran across its form like molten veins. It had no clear shape, yet somehow every being who looked at it felt the same thought: this thing should not exist. And then a sound came. Not through radio, not through speakers, through their minds. A deep, horrible whisper. "Feast." Every being on the council station screamed, grabbing their heads. Rilar collapsed, shaking. "It speaks inside the mind." Kava held the table for support. No, it is not speaking. Theron's eyes filled with terror. It is choosing. Choosing what? Rilar asked. Choosing which species to eat first. Inside the Terran Vanguard, the officers held firm even as the mental whisper passed through the ship like a wave. Their training had hardened their minds, something the other species lacked. Ren Hale remained steady. They've grown stronger, Lyra said, wiping sweat from her brow. They never reached this size before. Ren exhaled slowly. Time moves differently in the dimensional rift. If thousands of years passed for them, then they evolved, Lyra finished. Ren nodded. Exactly. Another officer shouted, Captain. The creature is charging an energy pulse. It's targeting the council station. Then we protect them, Ren said simply, no matter what they did in the past. The darkness creature raised one of its massive tendrils, energy built around it like swirling blue fire. On the council station, the alarms changed pitch, now more desperate. Direct hit in 12 seconds, shouted the technician. Shields cannot stop that, Rilar screamed. Draxon ran for the exit. We are dead. But Theron grabbed him with surprising strength. We die only if humans fail. Draxon stared at him. You trust them now? Theron's eyes blazed with ancient wisdom. They survived what we could not even imagine. They chose to return. They do not come as our slaves. They come as our shield. Back in the Vanguard, target lock, Lyra said. Ren raised his hand. Fire. The Terran Vanguard's front core blazed with white-blue energy. A beam erupted, silent, straight, and bright as a newborn star. It struck the creature's tendril just before the attack completed. A massive explosion shook space itself. The creature roared, not in pain, but in anger. It turned all its eyes toward the Terran Vanguard and whispered again. Human. Ren stared back without fear. You want us, he whispered. Come find us. The creature launched forward. The council station watched in terror as the cosmic monster chased the Terran Vanguard. The humans moved with impossible speed, bending gravity, folding space, outmaneuvering something the size of a planet. It's chasing them, a counselor shouted. They're leading it away from us, Rilar whispered. For now, Theron corrected. He turned toward the others. The humans are trying to lure the beast into a kill zone, but that creature is not alone. Everyone froze. What do you mean? Kava asked. Theron's voice trembled with fear. The darkness behind it, that is not empty space. Everyone looked at the screen, and slowly, horrifyingly, more shapes began to move inside the void. 10, 20, 50, hundreds, eyes, tendrils, wings, fanged void mouths, an entire swarm of dimensional monsters. Kava screamed. We cannot survive this. The humans can, Theron whispered, but only if we stand with them. Rilar nodded slowly. Then we contact them now, on the Vanguard. An incoming transmission beeped. Lyra looked shocked. It's from the council. They want to speak. Ren breathed out finally. It took them long enough. What should I say to them? Lyra asked. Tell them the truth, Ren said. The war has just begun. The darkness spread like a living ocean. Hundreds of eyes glowed inside the void, each one hungry, each one aware. The galaxy had never faced anything like this. Even the ancient species had no legends about creatures that could swallow star systems whole. But the Terran Vanguard had seen them before. And this time, humanity was ready. The council station shook as another wave of mental pressure hit every mind inside. It felt like cold claws scratching inside their skulls. Some fainted, some screamed, some curled into themselves, begging for the whispering to stop. Rilar grabbed the table to stay standing. This pressure, it's getting stronger. Kava pressed her hands against her temples. They want to break our minds before they break our bodies. Draxon shouted, we must flee, we must abandon this station. No, Theron, breathing hard, held up a shaking hand. Running is pointless. They cross distances faster than ships. They do not move, they appear. Everyone stared at him. Then what hope do we have? Kava whispered. Hope, Theron said softly, is standing outside the station. They all turned toward the massive viewing window. The Terran Vanguard floated like a silent titan, glowing brighter, charging energy no one in the galaxy understood. Rilar exhaled shakily. Humanity is our only chance. Inside the Vanguard, the atmosphere turned war-ready. Every officer moved with purpose, their steps confident but controlled. Lyra checked the incoming swarm. 12 large-class creatures, 40 medium. Over 100 smalls, more behind them. Ren Hale stood tall, his eyes stayed focused, not on fear but calculation. Activate dimensional anchors, Ren ordered. The floor hummed with deep, heavy vibrations. Blue rings of energy expanded from the ship like ripples on water. Anchors online, Lyra confirmed. Space around us is stabilizing. The younger officer from earlier swallowed. Sir, does that mean we can fight them without being pulled into the rift? Ren nodded. Exactly. He stepped forward. Charge astral cannons to full. Prepare for contact. Full charge, Lyra repeated. That hasn't been used since. Yes, Ren said quietly. Since the War of Nightfall, everyone fell silent. That war was something the galaxy knew nothing about because humanity had fought it in another dimension alone. The darkness swarm moved faster now, rushing toward the humans. Their tendrils left trails of shadow behind them, and each creature let out a silent scream that tore into minds. What do they want? An alien counselor asked weakly. Theron answered, they want everything. They feed on energy, on life, on memory. They will consume all suns, all worlds, all species. Draxon shook, his voice cracking. Why do they exist? Theron's eyes were sad. Some things do not have a reason, they just are. On the Vanguard, creatures in firing range, Lyra announced. Ren lifted. Fire! The Terran Vanguard unleashed its wrath. A beam of pure energy erupted from the ship, white and blue, bright enough to blind sensors across star systems. It pierced through 3 massive monsters instantly. Their bodies twisted, cracked, then exploded in bursts of glowing ash. The entire council station shook at the shockwave. Relar gasped. They killed 3 with 1 shot. Kava stared in disbelief. How powerful are humans now? Theron whispered. We are only seeing a fraction. The medium-sized monsters charged next. They were fast, like shadows with wings darting in impossible directions. They surrounded the Vanguard, wrapping the ship in dark tendrils. The lights dimmed. The sound inside the ship changed, like whispers crawling through the metal. An officer cried out, they're trying to drain our power. Lyra gritted her teeth. Activate pulse shields. A shockwave exploded outward from the Vanguard. Blue spheres of light blasted the monsters away, shredding their bodies into dust. Ren's voice remained calm. Restore external armor, prepare next volley. Armor's regenerating, an engineer replied. 70% restored. Ren nodded. Enough, but the battle was far from over. One of the largest creatures, the one with moon-sized eyes, charged forward, opening its massive mouth. Inside the mouth were layers of teeth shaped like crystals, each glowing with stolen starfire. It lunged. Ren whispered, brace. The creature slammed into the Vanguard. A violent impact shook everything. The ship tilted, gravity altering. Officers fell, panels sparked, alarms screamed. Lyra shouted, hull integrity at 60%. Ren held onto a railing. Astral barrier now. A golden shield burst outward from the ship, pushing the creature away. Its enormous body cracked, leaking a thick glowing substance that drifted like smoke. But it didn't die. It roared so loudly that every creature in the swarm echoed the roar. The council station trembled from the force. Draxon collapsed. This is hopeless. Humans cannot kill them all. Theron glared at him. Then stand and die with courage. Back on the Vanguard, Ren wiped blood from his forehead. A small injury, nothing compared to what they had suffered before in the other dimension. Captain, Lyra cried. The large-class creature is recovering. Its regeneration speed is increasing. Ren's expression darkened. Then we stop it permanently. How? A young scientist asked. Ren looked at him, eyes cold. With the null lance, everyone fell silent. Captain, Lyra whispered. Using the null lance could tear space open. It will kill the creature, Ren said, and we have no choice. The bridge lights dimmed to blood red as Ren activated the command key. Charging null lance, he ordered. A deep vibration shuddered through the ship. The front core twisted, reshaping itself, forming a long, dark barrel with glowing runes carved across it. The core turned black, so black it looked like it absorbed light. Null lance at 10%, Lyra reported. 20, 30, the creature sensed the danger. It began to charge another energy blast. The entire void shook. Ren's voice went low. Hold. 50%, 60, the creature opened its jaws. 70. Energy in its mouth grew brighter, hotter, faster. 80. Ren clenched his fist. 90. The creature fired. A massive beam shot toward the Vanguard, strong enough to crack planets. Ren shouted, fire. The null lance unleashed a beam of pure nothingness. It wasn't light, it wasn't energy, it was absence, a hole carved into reality itself. The 2 beams collided. For 1 second, everything went silent. Then a shockwave erupted that shook galaxies. The creature's body split apart. Its eyes burst into white flame. Its tendrils crumbled into dust. The darkness behind it trembled and recoiled. Ren whispered, target eliminated. Lyra exhaled, shaking, null lance energy falling, no breach detected. A miracle. Humanity had just killed a cosmic monster with a weapon that broke the rules of physics. On the council station, no one spoke. Relar stared at the screen like a man seeing a god. They defeated it. Kava fell to her knees. Humans saved us. Even Draxon was speechless. Theron placed a hand over his heart. Now you understand why we feared humanity's rise. Relar turned to him. You feared their rise, but you did not understand their heart. Theron nodded slowly. Yes, because humans do not only fight for themselves, they fight for everyone who cannot. Back on the Vanguard, Ren watched the swarm regrouping inside the void. They're angry now, Lyra said. More are coming. Ren nodded. Good. He stepped forward, looking through the viewing window at the endless darkness. Humans do not run anymore, he said. This time we stand. The officers rose from their stations, ready to fight again. Ren breathed deeply, his eyes sharp. Prepare the fleet. Lyra froze. Sir, you mean yes, Ren said. We call the others. He touched a glowing panel. A signal pulsed through space, and far beyond the stars something answered. A massive portal opened. Dozens, then hundreds of human warships emerged, each one different, each one shaped by years of battle in another universe. The real Terran Vanguard fleet had arrived. Ren smiled, dark and fearless. Round 2 begins. The galaxy had already seen the impossible, one human warship using strange weapons, one ship standing alone against monsters older than stars, but now a new light tore through the dark sky. The council station vibrated as a massive portal opened far behind the Terran Vanguard. It wasn't like the earlier dimensional crack. This one was stable, wide, and shaped like a rotating ring of blue fire. Commander Relar stared speechless. "What is that?" Theron let out a trembling breath. "That is a gateway, a door humans built to connect two universes." Draxon's jaw dropped. "Impossible, no species can build something like that." Relar whispered, "Humans can't." The portal grew wider, wide enough to swallow moons, and then the first ship came through. A diamond-shaped Titan, glowing silver, engines humming like an entire city. Behind it came another, then 20, then 100. The ships varied in design. Some were long and sharp like arrowheads, some were round and shielded like fortresses, some were black with red cracks like magma veins, some carried massive spinning rings. Others had wings that folded and unfolded like metal feathers. Every new ship was built from technology the galaxy had no name for. Relar whispered, This is the human fleet." Theron nodded slowly. "Yes, or at least part of it." Kava grabbed the railing to steady herself. "How many of them survived in the other universe?" Theron exhaled. "More than we feared and more than anyone expected." Inside the Terran Vanguard, the officers watched as their comrades arrived. A voice crackled over the comm system. "Vanguard Command, this is Ironwing Alpha, we read your signal." Another voice followed, "This is the Echo Hammer Fleet standing by." Then Shadowfront Division ready for battle. And finally a deep comm voice filled the bridge. Terran High Admiral Kale Arden reporting. Even Ren Hale straightened at that. "Patch him through," Ren ordered. The hologram of High Admiral Kale appeared beside him, tall, armored in black and silver, with a scar across one eye glowing faint blue. "Captain Hale," the Admiral said, "you've held the line well." Ren nodded respectfully. "We had no choice, sir." Kale's expression hardened, "And now neither do they." Through the window, the fleet formed a battle wall across space, facing the darkness. Thousands of engines glowed in formation, aligned like blades preparing to strike. A sight so beautiful it looked terrifying. Inside the council station, the aliens watched with open horror and awe. Draxon shook his head. Look at them, they have more ships than our whole sector." Relar whispered, "This is no longer the humanity we mocked." Kava whispered, "They are a superpower from another universe." Theron added softly, "They are what we forced them to become." But the darkness did not fear, instead it answered. The shadows pulsed, the void shook, more creatures crawled from the cracks. Some had wings made of broken light. Some had limbs made of smoke. Some had bodies shaped like twisted stars. The swarm grew into thousands, then something enormous moved behind them, a colossal shape bigger than anything yet seen. As the galaxy watched, the creature stepped forward, not floating, not drifting, stepping, with legs that bent reality beneath them. Relar gasped. What is that?" Theron closed his eyes in pure fear. "That is a Void King." Even the council members went still. Kava covered her mouth. "There are ranks, levels," Theron nodded. "The smaller ones are hunters, the medium ones are feeders, the large ones are destroyers." He pointed with a shaking hand, "And that is a ruler." On the Terran Vanguard bridge, Lyra's hands trembled around her data pad. "Captain, I've never seen a Void King this large." Ren didn't look away from the window. "None of us have. Should we call retreat?" a young officer asked. Ren shook his head. "There is no retreat." The Void King raised its head. It had no eyes, no face, only a shifting mask of darkness that sucked in all light, yet every being who looked at it felt the same feeling, hopelessness. Then it began to speak, not with words, not with sound, but with force. The mental wave hit the galaxy like a tidal storm. Millions cried out, some fainted, some bled from the nose, some felt their hearts stopping. Relar fell to one knee, gasping. What does it want?" Theron barely stayed conscious. "It wants submission." Kava whispered, "It wants to rule us." "No," Theron breathed, "it wants to erase us." Inside the Terran Vanguard, the crew felt the same mental pressure, but they endured it. Lyra gritted her teeth, mental barrier holding barely. Ren pressed a hand on the console, increased cognitive shields. "Yes, sir, they are already at maximum." Ren's eyes narrowed, "Not maximum." He touched the emergency override, a hidden switch. "This is maximum." The ship's walls brightened with golden veins. A wave of psychic protection washed through the crew. Their minds cleared instantly. Lyra exhaled in shock. "Where did this tech come from?" Ren gave her a tight smile. "We did not survive the other universe with weapons alone." The Void King stopped speaking. Then it roared, not sound, not light, pure destruction. Its roar shattered asteroids, broke moons, split small stars in half. Terror swept through the galaxy. And yet the humans didn't run. Admiral Kale sent a single order across every ship. Terran fleet formed the lance. The human ships moved instantly, shifting into one long spear-shaped formation. The Terran Vanguard took the front tip of the spear, the others aligned behind it, engines glowing white-hot. Lyra whispered, "I haven't seen this formation since." Ren nodded. Since nightfall, on the council station, everyone watched, breathless. Relar asked, "What are they doing?" Theron pointed at the formation. "They are preparing a dimensional strike." Draxon blinked. What is that? Theron looked at him with a mixture of fear and awe. Something the void cannot survive. Admiral Kale gave the final command. Dimensional engines overdrive. Every human ship activated dim energy cores. The space around them cracked and twisted like glass. The light turned a strange violet color. Then all ships charge. The human fleet surged forward as one unstoppable spear. They moved faster than physics allowed, faster than warp, faster than light, faster than thought, straight toward the Void King. The darkness monsters tried to stop them, but the spear tore through them like they were made of smoke. One by one they exploded into ash. The Void King roared again, trying to swallow the fleet with a wave of darkness. And then something no one expected happened. The Terran Vanguard opened its underbelly and released a second weapon, a sphere made of pure white light. Lyra whispered on the bridge, the Star Heart. Ren nodded once. It's time. The Star Heart floated forward, glowing brighter than a sun. The Void King froze. For the first time the monster hesitated, then it shrieked, but in fear. Across the council station every alien felt the same sudden shock. Relar breathed. The creature is afraid of the human's weapon. Theron whispered slowly, that is humanity's final secret. They didn't escape the other dimension. He closed his ancient eyes. They conquered it. The Starheart struck the Void King. A blast of white energy exploded across space, illuminating entire star systems. The darkness broke. The swarm screamed. The Void King's body split apart, dissolving into dust. The shockwave blasted across the galaxy, clearing the void creatures like smoke in a storm. And when the light faded, the galactic sky was clear. The void creatures were gone, all of them. Inside the council station, silence fell, a deep, stunned silence. Kava whispered, "They saved us." Relar swallowed. "They saved everyone." Draxon collapsed into a chair, shaking. "What are humans now?" Theron answered softly, "They are no longer children of Earth." He looked toward the human fleet. "They are the guardians of two universes." On the Terran Vanguard bridge, Ren stood tall. "Status?" he asked. Lyra wiped her eyes. "Void King destroyed, swarm eliminated, no casualties on our side." A cheer spread across the ship. Ren let out a long, slow breath. "It's over," Lyra whispered. Ren shook his head. No, his eyes narrowed at the empty darkness ahead. This was only the beginning. The galaxy thought it had just watched the end of a nightmare. The Void King was gone, the swarm was gone, the sky was clear again. Many believed they had seen the worst horror in existence. They were wrong. On the council station there was silence first, not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind, the kind that comes after a shock so big the mind does not know what to do. Commander Relar stood at the main window looking out at the Terran fleet. Hundreds of human ships sat motionless now, glowing softly like a wall of quiet stars. "It's over," whispered one counselor behind him. "They destroyed that monster." Another said, "We survived." Relar did not answer. He watched the humans. They did not celebrate. They did not fire victory flares. They did not play music. They waited, and that made him afraid. Theron slowly walked to stand beside Relar. The old being looked even older now, like each moment carried the weight of years. "You feel it too," Theron said quietly. Relar nodded. "Yes, fear, not of the monsters, of what came next." On the Terran Vanguard, the lights were dimmed to calm blue. The battle was over, but no one relaxed. Lyra Hale stood at her console, eyes moving over data streams that never seemed to end. "No more targets," she reported. "Void entities, 0 in this region." A cheer rippled quietly through the bridge crew. Some smiled, some let out long breaths, some closed their eyes in relief. But Captain Ren Hale did not smile. "Dimensional readings?" he asked. Lyra checked again, her voice lowered. "Still unstable, sir." A younger officer frowned. "But didn't we close the breach? The Void King is gone, the swarm is gone, the sky is clear." Ren turned his eyes toward the empty region of space where the darkness had been. "Exactly," he said, "it's too clear." Far behind them, the space where the creatures died was strangely clean. No broken bodies, no drifting remains, no echo radiation. It looked like nothing had happened there at all. That was wrong. Any normal enemy left traces, metal, heat, fragments, chemical clouds, but the void creatures had vanished like they were erased from existence. Lyra zoomed in on the sector again. "There's nothing," she said quietly. "It's like the universe does not remember them." Ren clasped his hands behind his back. "They were not just animals," he said. "They were tools." "Tools," the young officer repeated. "Of who?" Ren did not answer immediately because he already knew the answer. On the council station, panic slowly began to fall into normal motion. Doctors moved through the halls treating mental overload. Technicians fixed broken consoles. Military staff checked their ships, most still dead from the earlier gravity pulse. Meetings were called, arguments started, but every discussion always came back to one thing: humanity. Kava stood at the round council table, both hands pressed on the surface. "We cannot pretend after this," she said. "Humans are no longer a small voice. They are the loudest voice in the galaxy." Draxon glared. "We should fear them more than those creatures. Did you see what they did? That weapon, that Starheart, that beam that erased the Void King. Who knows what else they can do?" Relar looked at him. "And without them we would all be dead." Theron nodded. "Humans have become dangerous, but they have also become necessary." "So what do you suggest?" Draxon spat. "We bow, we kneel. We let humans rule us." No, Rilar said firmly, we do not kneel, we speak, we ask, we listen, because right now they know more about the threat than we do. Kava took a slow breath, and if the threat is not over, Rilar looked out the window again toward the human fleet, then we must understand what humanity is still hiding. Back on the Vanguard, Admiral Kale's hologram appeared again on the main bridge. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Captain Hale, he said, report. Ren turned to him. Void King eliminated, swarm destroyed, no enemy signatures inside local space. Kale nodded slowly. Good, Lyra spoke up, but sir, dimensional readings are still wrong. Kale's eyes shifted to her. Explain. She pulled up a holo map of space. It showed small waves and ripples around the area where the Void King had died. These patterns, she said, tracing them. We saw them only once before. Ren finished for her. The first rift. Kale's face hardened. The first rift. The day humanity opened the door to the other dimension for the very first time. The day everything changed. We closed that door, the young officer said, didn't we? Kale answered, his voice low. We thought we did, in a private communication channel away from the rest of the crew. Admiral Kale and Ren spoke alone. You feel it, don't you? Kale said. Ren nodded. Yes. Void King was not the master, it was a servant. Kale's expression darkened. On the other side, before we left, we felt it too, the presence behind the swarm. We never saw it, we only felt. He paused, searching for the word. Ren finished quietly. Intention. Yes, Kale said. The creatures hunt, they feed, but something directs them, shapes them, guides them like a herd. Ren looked back at the star field, and now it knows we killed one of its kings. On the council station, a new alert flashed across the main screen. Incoming transmission, source Terran fleet. All council members scrambled into position. The room filled quickly. Everyone was tense. Some were afraid, some were angry, some were simply exhausted. The holographic image of Admiral Kale appeared above the table. No one spoke at first. Kale was the first to break the silence. Council of the Orion Line, he said, we need to talk. Rilar stood. Admiral Kale. On behalf of all present, we acknowledge that humanity has just saved this region from destruction. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably at the word saved, but no one dared protest. We also understand, Rilar continued, that the creatures we saw were from the other dimension your people survived in. Yes, Kale said, we fought them for centuries. Kava stepped forward. Then tell us the truth, human, is it over? Kale looked at her for a long moment. His next words were simple. No. A cold ripple went through the chamber. Draxon clenched his fists. What do you mean no? We saw them die. We saw their king fall. Kale's eyes were like stone. The creatures you saw today are hunters, destroyers. At the top of their chain they are powerful, but above them, he paused. Above them, he said, is something else. Rilar whispered, something worse. Kale did not soften it. Something that thinks. The council chamber erupted into noise. What does that mean? Are we facing intelligent enemies? Another empire? Another god? Theron raised his voice louder than usual. Silence. The room fell quiet again. He looked at Kale and asked the question everyone wanted to avoid. Admiral, have you seen it? Kale shook his head. No, but we felt it. It never showed itself. It only watched. When we fought, the creatures adjusted. When we built new weapons, they adapted faster than natural evolution should allow. He looked at each council member in turn. That is not instinct, that is design. Kava frowned. Design by what? A being, a mind, a collective? Kale answered, we don't know. Ren Hale watched the council conversation from his own screen on the Vanguard. He stayed silent, letting the Admiral handle the political weight. But his gaze stayed on one thing, the ripple in space, barely visible. Only if you knew what to look for, not in front of them, behind them. On the council station, the talk moved from fear to strategy. What do you want from us? Draxon asked. After what we did after we tried to destroy Earth 200 years ago, why are you even warning us? Kale's answer was simple, because if the thing behind the darkness comes, it will not stop at Earth. He let the words fall heavy. It will not stop at your empire or your enemies. Or your rivals, it will eat everything. Rilar swallowed. Then what is your plan? Kale took a slow breath. First, we stabilize the dimensional field in this region. The shock of the Void King's death will attract attention. He pointed at a map. We will deploy anchor arrays here, here, and here. They will act like locks on the door. And second, Theron asked. Kale's eyes went colder. Second, we prepare the galaxy for war. That line shook everyone. You expect us to fight with you. Draxon said, after what we did to you. Yes, Kale replied calmly, because your survival is also ours. We will not fight this alone again. The last time almost broke us. Rilar dared to ask, and if we refuse? Kale did not threaten. He did not raise his voice. Then you will die first, he said, and when the darkness comes for us, there will be no one left to help. Silence followed, hard, heavy silence. Then Theron bowed his head. The Lyrian Order will cooperate. Kava nodded, the Shura collective as well. One by one empires began to speak. Even Draxon, after a long pause, exhaled and said, the Core Dominion will listen. Kale nodded once, then we begin. On the Terran Vanguard, Lyra turned as a whisper of energy brushed across her console. Her eyes widened. Captain, she said quickly, we have a reading. Ren walked over. What kind? She expanded the view. Behind the region of space that had cleared after the Void King's death, a tiny mark appeared, like a small point of black, so dark it stood out even in space. It's not a creature, Lyra said. Not energy, not mass, just absence. Ren stared at it. The thing didn't move, didn't grow. It simply existed, like a pupil inside a cosmic eye, watching. Ren's voice went quiet. It's looking at us. Lyra swallowed. Is it the mind behind them? Ren did not answer. Instead, he gave a new order. Record everything. Lock all sensors on that point. Do not engage. Do not signal. Do not blink at it. A younger officer asked, voice shaky, why, sir? Ren's eyes stayed on that tiny black point. Because, he said softly, this is the first time it has let us see it. He paused, and I don't want to know what happens if we stare too long. Far away, galaxies away, in a place where no map reached and no star shone. Something old moved in its sleep. For the first time in a very long time, it was curious about a small blue species that refused to die. The galaxy had just learned the truth. The Void King was not the end. It was only the beginning, and now something far older was watching. Commander Rilar stood inside the Council Station's central hall, looking up at the massive holomap of the galaxy. Human engineers moved around the room like ghosts, silent, focused, efficient. They were installing technology no one else understood. Blue anchor pylons, dimensional stabilizers, quantum shield nodes, machines built with physics the galaxy had never studied. Rilar swallowed hard. Humans work fast. Beside him, Kava nodded. They have seen this enemy before, we have not. Rilar glanced at her. Does that worry you? Yes, she said, but dying worries me more. Far above them, the Terran Vanguard floated beside the rest of the human fleet. They looked like a wall of steel and light, silent but unstoppable. Newly arrived ships joined the formation, bringing supplies, personnel, and something else, knowledge. Human scientists visited every major alien ship. Human soldiers trained alien officers in basic survival. Human commanders held briefings on dimensional war. It was the first time in history the galaxy saw humanity not as a minor voice, but as the center. And still something felt wrong. Inside the Vanguard, Lyra Hale stood in front of a glowing blue sphere. It showed the small black point she had detected, the eye watching from far away. Captain, she said softly, it hasn't moved. Ren Hale approached, his expression unreadable. And we don't want it to, she nodded. But sir, what if it can't move? Ren glanced at her sharply. Explain, what if it is waiting, she whispered. Ren did not respond because that fear had been growing in his mind too. Meanwhile, on the Council Station landing deck, something rare happened. A human and an alien were training side by side. A Terran Marine instructor, tall, armored, eyes sharp, stood in front of a group of alien soldiers. The aliens looked nervous. Their hands shook as they tried to copy the human combat stance. Listen up, the Marine said in a calm but dangerous voice. If you meet a void creature, 3 rules. He held up a finger. Rule 1, do not look into its eyes. Some of them speak through sight. Second finger. Rule 2, do not scream, it feeds on fear. Third finger. Rule 3, if you hear whispering, close your mind. One alien raised a trembling hand. How do we close our mind? The Marine gave a tiny smile. You won't, but we'll teach you how to survive long enough until a human gets to you. The aliens gulped. This was their reality now. In the council chamber, a major meeting was underway. Human Admiral Kale stood at the center, surrounded by representatives from each major empire. Draxon looked uneasy. Admiral, your fleet's arrival saved us, but also frightens us. How many ships do you truly have? Kale's face remained calm. What you see here is less than 1/5 of the Terran Vanguard fleet. Gasps filled the room. Kava stepped forward. If we are to trust you, we must understand why you brought so many ships. Kale answered simply. Because the enemy we fear does not destroy worlds one by one. He zoomed the hologram out. It destroys galaxies. Silence. Rilar's voice was tight. Admiral, have you seen such destruction? Kale paused. Yes, he said softly. In the other universe, we saw star clusters vanish, light swallowed, life erased by a single pulse. Someone whispered, impossible, not impossible, Kale said, just older than us. Meanwhile, in a private research chamber deep inside the Vanguard, scientists gathered around a stasis pod. Inside the pod was something black and twisted, a corpse of a small void creature. Its body was burnt, cracked, and barely recognizable. One scientist whispered, we shouldn't have brought this here. Another replied, we need to understand them. A third scientist stepped forward, a calm woman with silver eyes. Begin the scan. The pod glowed blue. Holographic diagrams formed around the creature. Suddenly, every display flickered. The creature's dead eye opened, the scientists froze, the lights dimmed, a whisper filled the room. You cannot hide. The creature jerked inside the pod, the glass cracked. Shut it down, the lead scientist shouted, but the creature smiled, something no one knew they could do. We see you. The stasis pod shattered, the lights exploded, and then silence. Lyra Hale felt a jolt of energy ripple across the ship. She gasped, Captain, we have a breach in the research deck. Ren moved instantly. Security teams with me now. They sprinted through the corridors. Human soldiers fell into formation. The alarms blinked red, white, red, the code for dimensional entity containment failure. When they reached the lab, the door was half melted as if something had eaten through it and then put it back. Ren lifted his weapon. Open it. The door slid open, the room was cold, too cold, frost grew on the walls, the scientists lay on the floor not dead but unconscious. Lyra checked them. Captain, they are alive. Ren scanned the room, the creature was gone, melted through the vent shafts, Lyra said. It escaped deeper into the ship. Ren clenched his jaw. Seal all decks, lock down every corridor, no one moves alone. A soldier asked, Sir, is this creature dangerous alone? Ren answered without hesitation. Yes. On the council station, the humans suddenly sent a high-priority alert. Kale's hologram appeared in the council chamber, eyes sharp. All council members, he said, the void creature we brought for study has awakened. That single sentence hit the chamber like a blast wave. Draxon shouted, you brought one of those monsters here. Kale raised a hand. It was dead, or we believed it was. Now it is moving. Kava whispered. What do we do? Kale answered, we test your unity. Inside the Terran Vanguard, the creature moved through the vents like smoke. It whispered words that were not words. It left frost and shadows wherever it crawled. Ren led the hunt. Soldiers followed behind, scanning every corner. We need to catch it alive, Lyra said breathlessly. Ren shook his head. No, this one must die. They moved through a dark corridor, then they heard it, breathing, slow, wet, wrong. A shadow unfurled itself from the ceiling. Ren fired instantly. The creature screamed, its voice echoing through the entire ship. Lyra shouted, it's signaling the others. What others? A soldier yelled. Ren's face turned dark. The ones behind the dark. The creature lunged, the soldiers fired, and the galaxy held its breath. On the council station, the entire fleet watched as lights flashed across the Terran Vanguard hull. Relar whispered, are they fighting something inside their own ship? Theron's eyes narrowed. Yes, and if they fail, that creature will not stop with them. Kava clenched her fists. We must help. Draxon stared at her. Help humans? Are you insane? No, Relar said. We help ourselves. He turned to the council. Send boarding teams, support them, prove to humanity we stand with them. A moment of silence passed, then Kava said, the Shura Collective will join. Theron nodded, the Lyranes as well. Finally, painfully, Draxon grunted. Fine, the Core Dominion will send elite squads. Relar exhaled. Good, he pointed at the Vanguard. We go into the Lion's Den. Inside the ship, Ren Hale and his team cornered the creature in a power junction chamber. The creature was small now, smaller than before, but its eyes glowed with intelligence. It whispered, you killed our king. Ren raised his rifle. The master wakes. Ren's finger tightened on the trigger. He sees you. Ren fired. The creature exploded into black ash. The lights flickered. Then a voice deeper than any before whispered through the entire ship. Hello, humanity. Ren froze. Lyra froze. Every soldier felt their chest tighten. The voice continued. I have been waiting. And far out in the starfield behind the Void King's death, the tiny black point began to grow, slowly, like something stretching after a long sleep. Ren whispered, it's coming.